Welcome back. Today I'm going to start with planning as an instrument of social policy. Planning is a complex process of decision making, which begins with the formulation of broad policy goals and objectives, and then extends through a series of stages in which these goals are translated into detailed plans for specific programs and projects, which are then actually implemented. So, planning and policy making are very closely related, and the planner, whenever the planning takes place, it have some understanding of the policy prescriptions, decisions which is trying to be, which has to be implemented. More political, you get an understanding of the social policy before talking about the planning part or the planning process. So, in the while essence, planning at the level of society is a form of social regulation, the exertion of systematic influence on the interests and behavior of the people in accordance with the socially determined standards. And if we view society is just not as a steady state, but as a process, it can so planning can be understood as a guidance of bringing about certain change within the social system. So social planning becomes a part, or it is a form of planning where the standards are determined by the prevailing social policy values and principles, and these values they flow from overall situation in which people find themselves, so for a very prolonged period of time. And this situation is changing in important ways, in the sense that therefore the values change during the developmental discourse, and that becomes and thus by it determines the course of the planning process. Planning, as we all know, that it serves as a critical instrument of policy making system by providing a very systematic approach to address societal needs, promoting equity and fostering sustainable development. And it enables the government to allocate resources efficiently, which has been designed targeted interventions and ensure the well-being of the populations. And it actually focuses on, when we talk about the planning, the process entails, it should be, or rather it should be socially inclusive. And when we take planning into consideration, it tends to bring about employment generation or income generation, opportunities for the masses. It becomes more economically robust, and with the element of transparency as well as accountability, and it tends to become more politically stable. So social policy and planning, they are interdependent frameworks that work together to address social issues, promote welfare and achieve sustainable development. And social policy provides the principles and goals that guide societal development, while planning offers the practical tools and strategies to implement these policies effectively. So there's a synergetic relationship between these two, because these two domains are extremely crucial for improving the living standard and ensuring an equitable growth, as well as talking about the welfare and well-being of the masses. And the relationship between social policy and planning is symbiotic, in the sense that it provides the vision. Policy, particularly social policies, is provide the vision and goals, while planning offers the means to achieve them. If we look into the certain important part, that what are how these are interconnected, or how these are interrelated in terms of policy formulation and strategic planning, resource allocation, implementation mechanism, monitoring and evaluation, and adaptability and resilience. Now, when you talk about policy formulation and strategic planning, social policy, it outlines the social goals such as reducing inequalities or poverty, or improving the living standards, improving healthcare system. So planning translate these broader objectives into specific objectives, like the programs or strategies or projects. For instance, a policy based on or aimed at universal education is operationalized through the planning for school, like in terms of school development of school infrastructure, or teacher recruitment, or curriculum development, or enhancing the enrollment ratio, trying to reduce the dropout ratio. So this is the way, this, so in a sense you can say that when you are formulating planning policy, strategic planning becomes imperative to understand how planning has in how tactfully things could be done in order to make it more strategic, it may more focus centric. Then resource allocation. Effective planning ensures that resources are allocated efficiently to achieve this desired social policy goals or objectives. It prioritizes interventions based on the severity of the social issues and the available resources, ensuring optimal usage of the optimal usage of financial, human, and material resources. Then we talk about the implementation mechanism. Through this implementation mechanism, planning provides a framework, particularly for implementing social policies. It defines timeliness, responsibilities, and operational processes. Like a health policies aim, if we give an example, like a health policy aim at reducing maternal mortality, is implemented through planned initiatives like building maternity clinics or training healthcare workers, or running awareness campaigns, or running awareness campaigns. So this is how it can be done. Then if you talk about the monitoring and evaluation, how it is interconnected, planning incorporates mechanisms for monitoring and evaluating the social policies by setting up certain benchmarks, or certain standards or performance indicators. Planners can measure the success and the failures, or or whatever the odd chances would be there in terms of policies, and recommend certain adjustments, or modifications or review. So this monitoring evaluation give a scope to review the policies timely and effectively in a very efficient manner. So this feedback loop ensures continuous improvement and relevance of the policies, the social policies. And lastly, adaptability and resilience. Social policies must adapt to the changing situations, to the needs, to the demands of the society, or the present societal needs and conditions and challenges, such as recently we had a pandemic, or any kind of economic crisis. So the policies should be constructed or should be formulated in such a manner that it should suit the needs, aspirations, expectations of the population for which it has been created. So it facilitates, the planning facilitates this adaptability by providing flexible frameworks that can be adjusted in response to new data and circumstances. So there are certain steps in planning process, in planning policy, that is the process of planning. First, define the problem or issue. The first step in any strategic planning or any type of planning in terms of policy related, or in which is in connection, which is in coordination with the policy structure, is to define the problem or issue the policy intends to address. So this may involve conducting research or analyzing data, engaging with various stakeholders and the public to understand the nature and the scope of the problem. Secondly is to identify goals and objectives. Once the problem has been identified, policymakers must identify the broader goals and objectives they want to achieve through this policy. These goals and objectives should be specific, it should be transparent, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, relevant, and of course it has to be time bound. Then we then conduct a policy analysis. Now policy analysis, where the policy makers, they thoroughly analyze the policies environment, including existing policies and regulations, relevant stakeholders involvement and the participation of the relevant stakeholders, and the potential barriers in the implementation of that policy. So thorough policy analysis has to be done, that what would be the best alternatives, what would be the possible desirable outcomes, how it is going to be achieved, what would be the success, and how it would be measured. So a lot of detailed analysis is required of the policy. Then develop policy options based on their flexibility, effectiveness, potential, as well as also analyzing the cost and benefit, what would be the cost and benefit, as well as evaluating the various policy options also. Then select the preferred policy options. After evaluating the policy options, the policy makers should select the most closest, or rather the preferred one, and develop a detailed plan of action to implement the policy. Then develop an implementation plan. The implementation plan should outline the various steps required to implement the policy. So step by step indication should be evident in order to implement the policy, including the timeliness, budgets, and performance metrics. And it should also identify the resources which are needed to implement the policy, such as staff, funding, and technological advancements. Then monitor and evaluation of policy outcomes. Once the policy has been implemented, policymakers should monitor its outcomes to determine whether it has achieved its goal or objectives or not, or if it has achieved its goal and objectives, then the success of the policy can be replicated in the other states or in other parts of the subcontinent. And in case if there is a failure, then also we need to understand that what had been the probable cause or the causative factors behind the failure, and what measures can be done in order to tackle with this failure. So this may, it involves collecting of data and feedback from the various stakeholders, and the public, conducting research and analysis, and adjusting the policies whenever it is needed, whenever it is required. Then communicate and engage with stakeholders. Throughout the strategic planning process, or throughout the planning process, policies makers should communicate and engage with the stakeholders and the public to ensure their voices are heard and their needs are addressed. Whatever issues are there, it has to be it should be there should be an element of transparency between the stakeholders and the policy planners and the public. This may involve, by like conducting public meetings, hosting community forums, and providing regular updates on the policy is progress. Then there are certain levels of planning, the global planning with respect to scope. I had already discussed in my previous lecture at length about the various, levels of planning, like global agenda, development agenda, like SDGs are there. If you look into the if you look into the global agenda, that is a sustainable development goals, which requires planning effectively, that what would be the ways to implement, or what would be the tools and techniques to achieve these goals, which is globally applicable all over. Then there is a regional level planning, then which would be more of your, based on, certain regions. It would be state level, district level, national level, organizational level, as well as the unit and person level. And planning with respect to times, like there are certain levels of the visionary planning, which is beyond 10 years. Then there is a long-term plan, 10 years plan, then medium-term plan, 3 to 5 year plans, which 5-year plans are more applicable. And then you have a short-term planning. So the levels of planning would decide based on the levels of planning, whether it is for the national level, or whether it is for the unit, or whether for a state, or whether it is the globally it has been formed. Then the certain tools, techniques, methodology, and approaches being adopted. Then if you talk about the national level planning, and there are there is the macro level. When we talk about the national level planning, it is a macro level, nationwide, countrywide planning, and it focuses on the long-term socio-economic goals and objectives, which also talks about the overall resources, the resource allocation, and the developmental demands and the strategies which has to be taken in the national level planning. Like if we talk about the national level planning, Niti Aayog is one important body which has replaced Planning Commission, and it actually sets, it's a think tank, it is an advisory board, and it provides national economic priorities. It sets national economic priorities and targets. It tries to further analyze the 5-year plans which has been existing, and what would be the long-term developmental agendas and plan of action, how we can achieve sustainable development goals, and try to reduce income disparities or gender discrimination or such societal issues. So if we look into one example of national national level planning, that would be, drafting a vision of India, like what would be, that would be the long term vision, that focusing on the infrastructure development, poverty alleviation, reducing the gender disparities, trying to bridge the gap between the elite and the underprivileged class. So that kind of, it's, and it also focuses on the, it also talks about this national security and safety concerns. So national level planning is just not a part of, healthcare, but it is overall impacting the education, health, different sectors of development or policy making. Then the state level planning, when you talk about the state level planning, of course it is centered around the state level, where each state is entitled to have its own welfare means and measures, and depending upon the state's natural resources, or whether internal resources or external resources, and the kind of the population, based on the population, cultural sensitivity, diversity planning is done. So this also addresses regional issues, which needs to be aligning with the state policies, with the national, with it should sync along, it should be coordinated with the national objectives, or overall objectives of of more inclusive growth and development. So, and for this, at the national level, we have that, initially it was Planning Commission and then Niti Aayog, and at the state level we have various planning boards and departments, specific departments, which handles issues or which looks into the welfare of women or child or youth or minorities. They implement schemes which are based on the state specific needs and aspiration, whether it is in the area of agriculture or whether it's in the area of education. And it also coordinate and work in tandem with the national government or the central government for funding and resource allocation. So although the planning would be at the state level to understand the state's role, or the state's population, cultural representation, or whether it's linguistic or ethnic or whatever community it would be, rural or urban divide, it based on those parameters, the state level planning is done, but it has to align with the broader goals and objectives of inclusivity and sustainability, and it needs to coordinate, or rather it is also dependent upon the center for its funding and resource allocation. Like if I look into like, there are certain states which explore, or which rather had gained a lot of states which had gained a lot of appreciation, and through facts and data, like Kerala in terms of literacy and healthcare improvements, Maharashtra focusing on industrial development. So their statewide strategic planning is done based on the needs, expectations and demands of the people, and looking into the resources. Then there is a district level planning. When we talk about the district level planning, the district level administration, that is the bridging the state and local plans, addressing specific district challenges. And then there are certain district planning committees which look into the planning part of it. It tries to prioritize the projects based on the district level, and it also integrates the plans and of Panchayati Raj institutions and the urban local bodies. So when you talk about the district level, there is an amalgamation of the planned projects or the scheme of things between the Panchayati Raj institutions as well as the urban local bodies. There has to be a correlation, there has to be a coordination, like development of district road infrastructure, or implementation of rural employment schemes like Manrega. Then there is a block level planning. The block level planning is a sub-district level which focuses more on the rural and semi-urban areas, and the block development officer is particularly is the one who looks into these planning part of it, and he is responsible, the BDO, that is the block development officer, he is responsible to implement the schemes and programs and the projects which has been tailored for the benefit of or for the welfare of the local communities. It coordinates resources for agriculture, education, health at the block at this block level, and it also tries to improve small scale industries, improving rural sanitation and drinking water facilities. Then we have the village level planning, that is the Gram Panchayats and the local villages, the Panchayati institutions, the Panchayati Raj institutions, they come into existence. The micro level, it is more of a micro level planning addressing immediate needs of the local community or the local population. And here the key, the important functionary, that is the Panchayati Raj institutions or the Gram Sabha, the Gram Panchayats, they play a very significant role in talking about or implementing local infrastructure like roads, schools, primary health centers, engaging the community, in participatory planning and developmental aspect of the village community, like construction of village roads under the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, or there are various social welfare schemes like PM Awas Yojana, and then we have the sectoral planning. Now, when we look into the sectoral planning as well as the sectoral planning and the urban planning, sectoral planning focuses on specific areas like maybe health, maybe education, agriculture, sustainable livelihood opportunities, small scale industries, rural diversification, so it focuses on an sector wise growth aligned with the broader goals and objectives at state level or at national level or at district level. So it addresses the key challenges and opportunities in those specific areas. What are the certain concerns, how it could be strengthened, and then it gives the state leverage and even the central schemes for the sectoral development, like national education policies, which is implemented all throughout, and it is applicable all in all parts of India, or the RTE Act, which is again a legislative act which is applicable throughout the subcontinent. Then there is a rural agriculture initiatives like PM Kisan and so on. When we talk about the urban planning, it particularly focuses on the towns and cities, and it looks into the infrastructure development. A sustainable urban development initiatives has to be taken. It also talks about good governance, transparencies in the urban sectors, functioning. The urban local bodies are involved, or urban development authorities, the municipalities, municipal corporations. They are the ones who are held responsible for this strategic planning in the area of in bringing about welfare schemes. They also ensures smart and sustainable urban growth, developing housing facilities, transportation, sanitation, drainage systems, sewage, and so on. So this is all the various types of planning. Then there are certain principles of planning which are very important, like equity, access, choice. If you talk about equity and equality, they go hand in hand, and equity means fair distribution of resources, power, authority, opportunities to participate in the life of the community. And it is important, to recognize the difference between equity and equality. Equity means, bringing the same, and, equal means being the same, and equity means fair. So not assuming that everyone starts from the same point or has the same capabilities. So equity has to be ensured that the two, like if you look into the bringing of the marginalized community or the tribal population in the mainstream. So first, in order to them, everyone is equal in the eyes of law, and being a citizen of a country, we all have equal rights and entitlements. But equity could be only achieved when we are starting from the same starting point, or when we are initiating, or when we are getting into the mode of development from the starting point of both the population should be of same. So it is about fairness, it is about how transparent, it is about how just you are in providing opportunities and benefits to the population. Then accessibility, if you talk about access or accessibility, it means fair and equal access to resources or to the range of quality services which is essential for achieving and maintaining a reasonable quality of life. So accessibility, people should have that kind of accessibility, they should have that kind of freedom of choice, and they should have that accessibility to the service delivery system in order to ensure a more balanced and reasonable quality of life. Then choice, people should be able to choose from a range of options. So planning also helps, when you do planning, there should be certain amount of choices, range of options should be made available to the people. Alternatives should be given in housing, education, or employment opportunities, as well as as community support services and advocacy. So it becomes very important that you should have that choice, that ability to choose from various options, to choose, or rather to have that kind of opportunity to select, or uh, select various options, particularly in terms of housing, education and health sector. Then advocacy again is one important part, and plays a very legitimate role. And advocacy is to advocate or to do lobby for the needs and aspirations of the local community. And it is very important that when you advocate about certain entitlements, certain rights, certain objectives, uh, advocacy becomes instrumental in the process of planning, because unless and until you have a lobby system, you create awareness, you garnered or you generate interest of the larger population, any program, any policy would not be acceptable in any of the houses. Then communication and collaboration, another important part of principle is communication and consultation. Implicitly, it can be defined, social planning can be understood that decisions which are being made, which relate to the quality of life, it must be informed it must be informed to the community people. There has to be community involvement and participation, and the view of the people, their opinions should be expressed in such a manner that because they are the ones who will be affected by the decision making process. So it becomes very important that there has to be a certain amount of communication and consultation with the various stakeholders and with the public. There should be a representative of the public in order to understand the issues. They would be taken into into consideration when you are making a policy or a program which is going to benefit the larger population. Then participation is other important principle of policy, where you create opportunities, and a range of options for the people to actively get involved and participate in the civic, social and political life, and also to influence the decision making body. So there's a participation, active involvement of the people to become more proactive and active, to understand the situation, and to become more positive, and to have a positive outlook towards this participation process. Then timeliness, every policy, when we do planning part, or means that timeliness means that planning in advance, so that services and resources are available in a timely manner. They and when they are needed, whenever they are required, there is no wastage of resources. There is a time frame to each and every scheme, every program, every policy, whether it's of 10-year or 5 years or 3 years or a short term planning. So this timeliness is important because it determines the direction of that particular policy, and it also determines that what would be the probable outcome, and it would be more easier to evaluate the effects or the impact of the policy if there's a time bound. And it also helps a lot of, saves a lot of wastage. So when we talk about, then there is adaptability and flexibility. Plans and programs implemented should be flexible, and it should accommodate the changing needs of the community, or over the time. It should be more flexible. It should not be at all rigid, because of course when there is a particular policies, and then these policies again, they are reviewed, they are modified, and sometimes there is a merger of certain policies and schemes and programs, and sometimes it works independently, but there nevertheless there is always some modification. Always there are certain suggestions and adjustments need to be done. So there is a lot of adaptability and flexibility in terms of policy making. And then lastly, collaboration and cooperation. Planning and provision of services should be integrated. There has to be an integration, there has to be synchronization where possible, whenever possible, and there should be a coordinated efforts between both, whether talking about the partnerships in terms of government and non-government, or various stakeholders, or various other agencies, as well as the community people. So apart from these, there is a planning, there is a principle of sustainability, there's a principle of accountability and transparency, where one has to look into the finer aspects of planning, that how it could be more effective and efficient. There are the certain sources of planning, and it refers, when you talk about the sources of planning, it refers to the foundational elements of resource that guide and influence the planning process. And these sources helps in understanding the government machinery, the system. It helps organizations, governments, even individuals, to set up certain goals and objectives, and also to make informed decisions, to make decisions, to come to specific decisions, and to understand the entire process of the planning in. And there are three important I would say sources or mechanisms when you talk about the source: Indian Constitution, the Planning Commission, initially at the very beginning when we gained independence, and now it has been replaced by Niti Aayog, and then National Development Council. Okay, I will stop here and I will continue in the next lecture about the sources of planning.